Welcome in, everybody. This is the Fantasy Blitz podcast, powered by Sports Lounge Media, and sponsored by the Mogul brand. Today we got Sunshine State Eagles, my boy, with us. We're going to be talking kind of a different aspect than what we're used to, right? Obviously, the Super Bowl is coming up, but what we need to start preparing for is the Super Bowl or the part after the Super Bowl. So this is what we kind of do on my part of it. We're going to start digging into mock drafts. Excited about the combine coming up. Me and Sunshine are also thinking about possibly making a trip to the draft day up in Michigan and Green Bay. That would be pretty awesome. But yeah, so tonight we're just going to go over. I watched the entirety of the Super Bowl week. Was on just deep into it really. This is honestly my favorite part of the season. I love the football season and the getting to the Super Bowl, right?
Right.
But this is where dynasties are made. I mean, this is where the draft, the free agencies, can you maintain the success that you've had in the past? And it's one of my favorites. And I would one day love to be in the general manager aspect of things. But um, so again, we're just going to go down the Senior Bowl highlights. We're going to talk about a mock draft 1 through 30, and then just a couple highlights that we've been a while since we got together. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about some hot takes and some things that we've noticed going on in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you let me on, my brother. Again, thank you so much. I feel like it's been a while since we've got to sit and talk ball. Everything's been so consumed around the Super Bowl, and my
Yeah.
Eagles gear isn't coming off this week. But he makes a good point, Will, when he says that dynasties are built now in the offseason for a lot of teams. Obviously the Eagles have business to take care of in New Orleans, but when that ends, Howie goes right to work, and
Yeah.
that's some stuff that we're going to get to look in, and I'm excited to learn more of it, guys. There's no one better to learn from than Fantasy Blitz podcast. That's the guy. That's our guy, our go-to guy. I can't wait to work with him. Like he said, we might get the opportunity to go to the combine or the draft this season. If we do, you already know we're going to be bringing you that content.
Awesome. Awesome. Appreciate you, brother. Yeah. So hey, let's just jump right into things here. Um, Look, guys, in this draft class, there's a couple deep positions. Defensive line is going to be one of those positions. Running back is also going to be one of those positions. There is just the depth of the position as a whole is ridiculous. I had a AFC executive, and I will quote him. Don't know who it is, but he's an AFC executive that said that this running back class is like two running back classes combined. There's a lot of players that a lot of executives and scouts are impressed with. And it's nice having that depth and not having to spend your first two picks on something that needy. So we'll get right into it. D line again, very deep, very deep from the interior to the exterior. Couple of names that kind of caught my brain and caught my eye. Shamar, for one, Texas A&M, Shamar Stewart.
Yep.
Power off the edge. Has a real quick step. Big body. 6'5", 281. 83-inch wingspan.
Wow.
Massive. Long arms, gets those reach tackles. It's hard to get around those long arms at times. NFL comparison. Thought this was interesting. The last person to have this type of wingspan, Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah, he wasn't any good, was he?
He had in his early years he wasn't bad, but
Freakishly athletic.
he was a freak of nature in college, and it just didn't transfer. I mean, people were guessing for like Myles Garrett type production, and it never fared that way.
Never panned.
Yeah. So I mean, now if you look at his stats, yes, production is a worry. He's only had 4.5 sacks in 5 years, or sorry, 4.5 sacks in 3 years. But again, he's an interior D lineman. I do picture him as more of a run stopper. But again, Very, very. When he was on the edge this week, it looked like he had one of the quickest steps. So it'd be interesting to see where somebody drafted him and where somebody would put him.
Right.
I'm glad you brought up this name earlier. Kind of this college is near and dear to my heart. It's my last name, Marshall. So Marshall from Marshall University, Mike Green. This man is an absolute animal.
He's been showing at the Senior Bowl.
On YouTube, there's a clip where he puts probably a top 15 pick O lineman on his behind and made it
the Oregon tackle, right?
Yeah, and made it look absolutely just simple. He has great power. I mean, it's almost overpowering. Obviously, as you've seen in that video, if you look it up,
incredible pad level too. It's yeah.
This is one of my wow factors of the Super Bowl. Or sorry, the Super Bowl, Senior Bowl. This is one of my wow. You know what I mean? Like this was a guy that if he falls to the end, I wouldn't mind taking a stab, brother.
But to say, wouldn't mind him seeing it in that midnight green. You're
absolutely. I mean, 17 sacks in his senior season. I mean, come on.
Yeah, the kid's good. I mean, like I said, great pad level. He looked very twitchy in the drills. Maybe a slightly undersized, in my opinion. Again, what do I know? Yes. I'm a TikTok analyst. But great pad level, great aggression. He worked a bull rush on that Oregon tackle, and the Oregon tackle, he's a big kid. Like you said, top 15 pick. Absolutely incredible. I agree. Mike Green is definitely a name we're probably going to go watch.
And the undersizement doesn't really scare me. Okay, and I'll give you an example. There's a guy going close to 20 years now with the Philadelphia Eagles named Brandon Graham, and he's not the most ideal size of a defensive end.
Right.
But what I can tell you is that's probably the biggest heart in this locker room and the biggest motor. So if you find players like that, I feel like our culture helps create and bring the animal out in you. But you can't teach the motor. You can't teach, you know what I mean? Like these are things that are going to come with him.
Right. You either have that dog in you or you don't.
Correct. And that's what Brandon Graham is. Very undersized for his position, but he's got too much dog in him, man. I see a lot of that in Mike Green. I can see a dog in Mike Green.
I agree.
Last guy for the D line from Boston College, and I hope I'm going to say this name right, and probably not. Donovan Esvaku. Probably butchered that.
Is he an edge?
That's all right. Yes, he is an edge. He was second in the NCAA to sacks next to Mike Green. Mike Green was the leader. Donovan had 16.5 on the season. He is a little bit bigger. He's 6'2", 6'2", 248. So he's a little bit bigger in the size, kind of maybe ideal for the NFL.
Your typical size range, like what you want to see out of those
Fun
guys.
fact, at Boston College, one of his coaches was ex-NFL coach Bill O'Brien.
Oh, we know that.
Bill O'Brien has said resounding things about this kid.
Right.
His NFL comparison, I don't know if you remember this name, Whitney Mercilus. He was the Texans.
Yep.
Yeah, so that would be his, and that's kind of his. I mean, we need to see more from the guy, obviously, but he definitely. This is one of those guys that probably went from a 5th round to a 3rd round. You know what I mean? We're not all here going to talk about 1st round picks. We're not going to do that. We're talking about standouts.
I'm glad you say that because before we move on from defensive lineman, I have one more name that I kind of want
to hit me, brother. Hit me.
Walter Nolan. So Ole Miss defensive tackle, played in arguably the SEC's best defense. Really like what I see out of him. He's more of an interior guy, and for the Eagles, we don't really need interior guys, but depth is always nice. We have Milton Williams.
If we don't sign Milton, we may.
Exactly. And I really like obviously he's no Mason Graham or Kenneth Grant, but I don't think those guys are going to be around when we get to that point in the draft. So, a guy like Walter Nolan has the size. I think he's got a very limited pass rush toolbox, but obviously, like you said, you come to Philly to get, what's the word I'm looking for? You come here to get worked on or to produce. So at the end of the day,
Progressed, right.
yeah, to be helped. I can't think of the word right now. My brain's foggy. But I really like what I've seen out of Walter Nolan, especially during the season. I got to watch a lot of him being in the SEC. And at Senior Day the Senior Bowl, he's been really incredible.
Absolutely.
Like I said, very twitchy. He's just got a limited pass rush range. He's more of a run stop guy, but we need those dudes too. I really like the name Walter Nolan. I want to keep an eye on that as well.
No, the funny thing is I've already done 1 through 20 mock draft, and we're doing 1 through 30 tonight. But that's one of those names that kind of found the top 30 for me because I noticed the same thing. I mean, he impressed, and that's what this whole Senior Bowl thing is for. It's for the eyes of the scouts, and
Right.
he did his job. So we'll move on to the quarterbacks. Obviously, I don't think the depth here is great.
I was gonna say this is a very limited class, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there was I think there was a fight for quarterback 3. Obviously, Cam Ward, Sanders. I think there was more of a fight for which quarterback was going to stand out. Obviously, my personal opinion, I think Cam Ward is a raw NFL talent. He's a more of a Jaden Daniels type talent to where he can use his legs to extend plays. He's going to be able to do that at the NFL level. His coach says he's obsessed with the game and he's a natural leader. Those are also things that transfer over well to the NFL. I've done now 2 mock drafts, and we'll do a little sneak peek, but I do have the Titans taking him at 1 in both. I don't think I would be shocked if the Titans started the season with Mason Rudolph or Will Levis.
I agree. There's no way the Titans can afford to not take a quarterback. Because
No,
if you don't have Mason Rudolph, you're living a life of Will Levis, who is, in my opinion, arguably the worst quarterback I watched play football this year. And that I'm including everyone. He was the worst I watched. Absolutely.
Yeah, he definitely had some rough games. So yeah, obviously Cam Ward, best quarterback prospect to me.
I agree.
He did not participate. Him or Shadur Sanders did not participate in the Senior Bowl. I just wanted to add him in there just because, again, he's
number 2
pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we get back into the quarterback 3 range. I think it was more between Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart, sturdy frame, adequate mobility. He's a little bit shorter than your average quarterback, but he's definitely not Kyler Murray. So let's not get that confused. But I think what may help Jackson Dart is just the desperation in this year's draft.
Yeah.
You could see him we've seen quarterbacks get taken way early. Mitchell Trubisky, Daniel Jones, Will Levis. We've seen teams make that reach because it's obviously one of the most priorities on that team. I see Jackson being an early day 2 pick, which will be second round, but
yeah.
It's going to be hard. I only see 2 quarterbacks going out of the first 32. So
yeah, it's Cam and Shadur. And I like Jackson. He's another Ole Miss kid. I agree. I like some of the things I've seen from him. He's a play extender. He likes to get out on the edge and extend plays with his feet and his arms. I don't love the way he sees the field sometimes. I think he forces things.
Correct.
And again, guys, this is just my opinion on what I watched. Again, I got to watch Jackson Dart play the University of Florida live, so got to watch that pretty live. And sometimes he just takes things that aren't there, and I don't love that. But that's to be expected in a rookie quarterback. Now, from what I've heard, Jalen Milroe had a rough Senior Bowl.
Yes, he absolutely, and that's my next point. Guy out of Alabama, Jalen Milroe. I thought was going to stay one more year. Went to the Senior Bowl. He definitely struggled, and his draft stock's gonna hurt. Threw a pick in the Senior Bowl. Didn't usually really use his legs that well.
Right.
Obviously, I'm sure that's a coaching thing. Like, hey, let's not try to be the hero. Everybody's trying to prove a point here. But yeah, definitely separated. Dart separated himself from Milroe for sure.
And I mean, if we were looking at this and guys like the Drew Cat from Penn State or Ewers, both of them deciding to go back to college is big. Because for me, it would have been either Ewers or the Drew kid. I can't pronounce his last name ever correctly, but
Drew Alar.
Alar, thank you. I think he would have been that number 3 guy, and then Quinn Ewers would have been that 4 guy, and obviously they're swappable. But now, you have a clear number 1 in Cam Ward. I think I agree with you. He's the number 1 guy. He's going to Tennessee. I think we can all agree on that. And then Shadur Sanders will, go to the next team that needs quarterback. And then after that, the fall off is steep at quarterback. After that, like from 2 to 3, that talent gap. I mean, Jackson Darts is a backup. Let's be honest. I don't think Jackson.
No, I can agree. It's more of like a Spencer Rattler or
right.
Something of a
great
comparison.
Like that. Yeah, that's a good compare. I think Spencer Rattler started way too early. He was not that great this year.
Apparently, and this is we'll get into this later, but apparently New Orleans is all high on Spencer Rattler, and I think that's going to prevent Kellen Moore from going. But anyway, we'll get into that later. We'll get right into O-line. I only got two O-line. One name, Clay Webb.
Okay.
Out of Jackson State. He's only the 6th, and this player was really interesting to me. So I did a little bit deeper digging than I probably should have. But 6th player in school history to play in the Senior Bowl.
Wow.
He actually started his career at Georgia. He started his career at Georgia, then went to Jackson State.
Yeah, and Jackson State's relatively new to D1. They're pretty new,
yes.
Young Division I school, so he probably went there for playing time.
This is another guy, early day 3, that probably made the day 2 roster. I don't see him as a first-round pick. But, hey, throughout the whole Senior Bowl, every single quarterback, even Milroe that struggled, had high praise for this guy. Very balanced, hand placement, footwork, just everything was great. He did play some guard and some center, so he does have a little bit of versatility there, being able to move around.
What's his measurables?
I didn't write that down.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. I'm wondering if the transition to the NFL, he's going to play an interior position. I'm assuming center.
I would have mostly, I would assume that he's going to be a guard. He's not big in stature. I think he's over 300 pounds, but I don't.
I got you.
He's ridiculously tall.
Right, he's not a 6'6".
There's some tackles in this draft that are like 6'6", 312, and I'm like,
bruh,
holy crap.
The LSU cat is a monster. The
Mason
or Will Campbell, I think is his name. He's a dog. He's a dog.
Yeah, he's the next Joe O.
Yeah,
sure.
I agree.
Last one, Gray Zabel. Again, another. I think this is D2. This is where I dig deep. A lot of people don't look at these D2 guys. Okay, we got to remember
Gems everywhere.
Where Wentz come from?
Well, what about the Murphy cat that played for Tampa? He was a D3 guy a couple years ago. Ended up running the fastest 40 at the combine amongst all offensive and defensive line. I think he ran like a 4.9 at 300 pounds. That got him drafted. That got him drafted.
100%. North Dakota State, D2 guy. This is one of the more humble guys, right? Farmer body, farmer boy. I was reading an article. He has in North Dakota has like 2 acres of corn, and he does a daily job, does everything. Okay, he turned down NIL money from these bigger schools to stay and continue his daily life. Won a championship with the school this year.
Yep.
Has played center and both guard spots this season. And as in his 4-year career, has earned first-team All-American honors at left tackle.
At tackle?
At left tackle.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the kid's interchangeable. Then how is he? I mean,
he's literally played them all, and it's somewhere in his life. Yeah.
Right. It sounds like he's going to be an interior guy, but it sounds like he's got a really good drive. Like I said, that you got me on that one. I know the team, North Dakota State. I didn't know the players, so that's pretty incredible.
Comparison for me, Mekhi Becton.
Hey,
start outside, come inside. He has the ability to do both.
Did you see Jeff Stoughton? And this is a side note, just a quick side note. Did you see Jeff Stoughton's interview at the Super Bowl Media Day about Mekhi Becton? So apparently Mekhi was going to play tackle with us as a backup. And Nick Sirianni came up to him in OTAs and was watching him and said, "Hey, man, why don't we try him at guard?" And this came from Jeff Stoughton's mouth. Jeff Stoughton said, "Okay, we'll try it." The rest is fucking history. my guy's an incredible right guard, but that was Nick Sirianni's idea for him to play interior guard, and it's really.
I mean, he's a big body. As long as he can get that first quick step, and
that was Jeff Stoutland's initial worry. He was like, "I don't know about a guy who's 6'6" playing guard. How is he going to move?" And he's been incredible.
That boy can move. So Gray Zabel, I see being a top 50 pick here, guys. I'm big on Gray Zabel. Again, I think the D2-ness, obviously, if you're not a Carson Wentz or, putting your name on the map as a quarterback or a wide receiver or a running back.
Right, a position that garners more attention.
Right, but I think the D2-ness kind of gets seen past, but I do have him as a top 50 pick. We'll get right into some running backs here. This is another interesting story. Brashard Smith out of SMU.
Okay.
His senior year changed from wide receiver to running back for the school.
This is college for SMU?
Yes, for SMU. Okay. He had only 69 receptions in 3 seasons as the wide receiver. About
Jesus.
20, less than 25 a year?
Yeah, you're not getting the ball thrown to you very often.
Right. In 14 games at running back this year, 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns.
Woo-hoo! 13. My man was a 1,000-yard back on the first touch.
Obviously, he has experience at wide receiver. 39 receptions for 4 more touchdowns.
As a running back?
The cat was putting. And again, some of SMU was ranked. SMU was ranked late in the season, almost made the college football playoff. And I'm guessing he was a big reason why.
SMU did make it. They lost. They lost to Penn State.
Oh yeah, they did make it. You're absolutely right. You are correct. I remember that now. But a strength, great vision. One of the best route running backs, obviously, in this draft class. 1-on-1, you give him that choice route as a running back, and he's going to eat you alive. For me, I don't see him being even a top, like a round 4 pick. I'm thinking he's going to be round 5 or 6. He's got a small stature. Again, just made a position change, but the stats are there. And I think if he has a good combine, he'll only go up from here. But it's just a name to watch. Next one, I think, is going to be huge. And I think that if he's drafted by the teams that I think he's going to be drafted by, I think that this player could be in the Rookie of the Year conversation next year. Running back Ollie Gordon out of Oklahoma State.
Yep, I know. Okay.
In 2023, he was the top running back, and it was awarded as so.
Yeah. He was incredible.
So, in that season, 1,700 yards, 2,062 all-purpose yards. Struggled his senior season. This last season, they went 3-9 as a team. The whole team just did not play well. This year only had 880, and just a little over 1,000 all-purpose. So he took a big dive. Now, in 2023, when he led the nation, he had 285 carries. This year, he only had 190.
Christ.
So again, the workload wasn't there as well. Had a DUI over the summer.
Shifted.
Some players we've seen that take a hit on their draft stock. Some teams don't want the publicity or the PR. It is what it is, and it's a shitty thing. But it is what it is. We've seen it with Jalen Carter, and that situation kind of got ironed out. But
yeah, like it just takes your destiny out of your hands. So now, due to the fact that you didn't make very good choices, you could be the best player in the world. There's some gyms that aren't going to touch you whenever you have that attached to your name. So at the end of the day, I think the kid's talented enough. He'll get a shot. Because like you said, the kid was incredible in 2023. As soon as you said Ali Gordon, I immediately knew who you were talking about. The kid is incredible. Will he fall? I think he'll fall because of it. Most kids usually do. I don't know. I'd probably put him in a 3 or a 4.
I'm thinking maybe there's a couple teams that would make a stab. Maybe Pittsburgh losing a Najee Harris, so that's a destination for me. I think Ollie Gordon and Pittsburgh Steeler Gold would. That'd be pretty sexy. I ain't gonna lie about it. But yeah, there's the Chargers. The Chargers are losing J.K. Dobbins. I mean, after Genty, it kind of drops off, but the depth is there to where second to third round talent, you're going to see a lot of running backs go. Right. We get into linebackers. I had to throw one of my homeboys in there from Notre Dame. Just had to do it. Jack Kaiser. Big name to watch for. I think an early day 3 pick. I think another strong combine type player that could benefit and move up into the second round. But look, at Notre Dame has the all-time record for games played at 70. 7-0.
Right.
You know how much football that is?
That was a great.
Yeah, it's a lot of football, and it's a lot of knowledge. It's a lot of the guy stuck around. The scouts were amazed how he did not have the national game hangover. He came in, he was the first on the field, ready to go. What do I need to do? This, that. He's focused. And that says a lot about his character. Again, scouts say strong mentality, strong tackler. Those are strong. I totally blanked on the word I was looking for, but those are things to look for in a signal caller as a linebacker. Those are traits, right? Those are traits you want in your linebacker. You want your linebacker to have a high football IQ. You want him to be nasty and aggressive. And at the end of the day, you want him to be a leader. So those are 3 things that I would look for in any linebacker that I have. It's what we have in Zach Bond. He's a great tackler. He's an incredible leader, and he's nasty. Jeffrey Bassa out of Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
It's my next linebacker. Did not miss a game in 4 seasons at Oregon. Durability, obviously. Durability is a strong thing to have when you're going to the NFL. If they can bank on, hey, this guy's track record suits us, and we need health at the position, we need depth, whatever it is, he's your guy. He was the signal caller for the national team this year, so he already has experience doing that. That's again big. Now he does have an extremely freakish wingspan for a linebacker, in my opinion. Now, you have your edge rushers, which we've already talked about. He had 83 inches. As a linebacker, Bassa has a 78-inch wingspan. Is just absolutely out of this world to me. 6'1", 226. He's a solid body, man. Explosiveness around the line of scrimmage. That was a big emphasis around the Senior Bowl. He has the best explosiveness around the line of scrimmage. So I thought that was interesting. 3 more players we'll touch on, random positions here, but these are kind of some hot takes. These are some names that you might have heard just on social media, or these are hot names, and whether they rose to the occasion or they came down. But hottest name at the Senior Bowl, Elijah Arroyo Tight end from Miami. Outside of Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren, there was a massive gap in tight end talent. And Elijah Aurora definitely put himself in that tight end 3 position. High day 2 pick, in my opinion. Big fluid guy, big hands, and one thing that they said that he did best yet was yards after the catch. So he's quick, he's elusive, great route runner. Elijah Arroyo definitely took advantage of his Senior Bowl, and it'll be a name that I'll be paying attention to come the combine because again,
he earned him some money, which is at the end
as
of the day,
Eagles
there's a lot of teams that need tight end.
As Eagles fans, we know Goddard does miss some time, so I can guarantee you we will be looking at that position this draft, and if this guy flies up draft boards, don't be shocked. Cornerback, a DB out of Western Kentucky University, Upton Stout. Very, very small for a corner. Only 5'9". Very, 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 very small. But per an AFC scout, they're no longer worried about his size because he has such a high motor that it makes up for his size.
Right.
The kid never stops until the whistle blows. He is very, very fast, obviously, because he's small. The quickness, the lateral quickness. He has a decent vertical, they said. We'll see how it translates over to the combine. But again, and where that ranks. But apparently his size is not a concern. So that may be an interesting day 2 or day 3 pick. Last guy here, Anthony Belton, offensive tackle for NC State. I was actually kind of looking at this guy for the Eagles. The end of the first round, if we decided to go the Lane Johnson route. He has, since his last game in NC State, because they did not play in a bowl.
Right.
He has gone from 370 pounds to 345. He has absolutely tightened up. He, this season, went from left tackle to guard because they had no depth at the guard position, and he could play it. So again, in my opinion, versatility. You know, you got the ability to play both positions.
Right.
That's having that an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman is so massive. It's just so huge. We'll get into let's just do the mock draft now. Since we've talked about the players. Let's just go ahead and do the mock draft. And then we'll move more into the NFL talking points. Again, right here, this is pick 1 through 30. I'm going to give maybe a two-second review of why this pick makes sense. Sunshine can give his take, and we're just going to move on. Keep this pretty simple. Again, as we had talked before, I had told Sunshine I really want to make or wait till the combine to really put effort and the absolute detail into things. So many times, my mock draft has changed from the first time already. This thing is going to change weekly, if not monthly. Combine is coming up, and free agency. So again, these are going to change constantly. So we're going to keep it real simple. First pick, Tennessee. Again, we've already talked about it. For me, I would be shocked if Tennessee started the season with Will Levis or Mason Rudolph.
I agree.
I think here it has to be Cam Ward. I think he's the better quarterback out of the two. And I think he's your best option at the triad of generational talent.
I would agree. I'd 100% agree. I'm taking him over Shedeur Sanders. I think he's got more upside. We'll see. He's a raw talent.
Yeah. And this in recent news, actually, this was the same in my first one, but I think it's more so now solidified, if you will. Myles Garrett requested a trade out of Cleveland. We'll get into that later. But I feel like the Cleveland Browns have an opportunity here to get his replacement, and it'd be a damn good one. I have them taking Abdul Carter
Second.
from Penn State. I mean, I really do think. I hate to say it, but in comparison, Micah Parsons. I mean, the guy is an absolute animal. He can play off ball, in ball, on the edge. It doesn't matter. But the guy's going to beat you any way you try to stop him. So he's a great fit in Cleveland, I think, especially if Myles Garrett goes. You replace that real quick.
Yeah. I mean, when Myles Garrett, like, it's going to happen. So it just depends on when it is. I agree with you. I think that the Browns are going to look to up that spot, and what not better than a guy that can play off ball, off ball linebacker, stand up. He can be like a Von Miller stand up guy. He can put his hand in the dirt. He's physical. He's twitchy. He's got a lot of pass rush moves. I mean, he's the next guy.
I can agree. It's just, when it's your pick and you get to the guy, or there's a couple the guys, because it's the best player available. You got to take him. Doesn't matter what your need is. Obviously, Cleveland could use a quarterback here. They could go Shadur, whatever it is, but come on, man, you can't. You're going to ruin an organization passing up on a talent like that.
You're going to set it back. I completely agree.
Yeah,
I completely agree. You set it back if you don't take him.
Correct. For me, number 3, New York Giants. Again, this is, and I will say the same thing with Dallas. This is the New York Giants move. This is a desperation move because, again, we go down the timeline. You didn't pay Saquon. You let him go. You gave the money to Daniel Jones. Your organization is down bad. That's basically what it is.
New York, thank you.
Absolutely. No, thank you. But I call this a desperation pick. I do. But I think the New York Giants take a stab and they draft Shadur Sanders out of Colorado. Again, it's what are you going to do? Rock with Drew Lock next season? That's not going to happen. Week 18 wasn't that impressive. I mean, it was impressive, but it didn't save your job.
No.
Yeah, you have to give Malik Neighbors something to work with in his rookie contract.
Yeah, otherwise Malik's going to be gone as soon as that contract.
Yeah, you're going to ruin another career like you did Odell. I mean, no offense. I mean, hey, he had a great 4 years, but it's because you had Eli. Once Eli left, what did Odell do?
Started to go downhill, and he hasn't been the same since. And he's played with Lamar Jackson.
You can't expect to do this ongoing thing with Drew Lock or maybe Kirk Cousins or come on, try to take a stab at the franchise quarterback. If you miss, guess what? You'll probably have another top 5 pick next year, and hopefully you can get Archie. But I think Sanders is their best option here.
See, I think New York's issue is that every single time they're like, we got to go quarterback. We got to get this done. And I agree. You don't have your quarterback. Haven't had your quarterback since Eli Manning kicked the bucket. But at the end of the day, they have structural issues at every other position. I mean, Evan Neal is a horrible right tackle, and he's their best option right now. I'm going to be honest with you. I hate New York. I want them to stay in poverty. You know that. You know how I feel about them boys over there in New York. But I think they need to start on the offensive line. They need to replace front office. What we can get in that at another time. I don't know if you go quarterback here, because how many times can you go? You go quarterback this year, it doesn't pan out. What are you going to do? Go quarterback next year? It doesn't.
See, I had that initial thought of early in the season. I was saying that Giants were tanking for Archie. Because it makes sense.
Right.
So not taking quarterback here does make sense. But I have yet to see mine or a single other mock draft where it doesn't have them taking a quarterback.
I agree. I think they will go Shadur. I think they'll regret it, and it's good. They're going to be set back another 3 years.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because who is Shadur gonna? Shadur's got Malik Neighbors to throw to. How's he gonna throw it to him? We've seen how he did in Colorado behind a porous offensive line, and it wasn't very great at times.
Oh yeah, he's not gonna be balls to the wall great. No,
That's not Jaden Daniels.
That's the beauty of going to the Giants. Is you You waste a career.
I'm going to get my popcorn out. I'm excited.
Hey, number 4, New England. I do have back-to-back Colorado here. I think they will go back-to-back. New England, I think, grabs Travis Hunter. Again, best player available at the time. I also could see them going a couple different ways. Mike Vrabel being the coach kind of intrigues me, but they could go Will Campbell. They could go Mason Graham. But in my personal opinion, I do have them taking Travis Hunter. Pair him up with Christian Gonzalez. That's a hell of a duo there. And again, my philosophy stays the same. You start him at corner, and you bring him in for a drive once a quarter. Give him some snaps.
Have him play primary corner aside from Christian Gonzalez, and then have him in as a slot, like special team, like kind of like how Kadarius Toney was used in KC.
And like I said, it's not he's not playing the entirety of the game on both sides because that's not going to happen. I'm saying like, hey, you good? You got energy? You got oxygen? Cool. Go out there for a drive, play the slot, and we'll get you some catches and see what you can do with the football.
Right.
Run him on some jet sweeps. Run him on some end around. Do some crazy shit. I think that that's the best pick.
I agree.
Okay. Number 5, Jacksonville. This is where it starts to get interesting. Jacksonville missing out on Travis Hunter, I think, takes Will Johnson, corner from Michigan. Look,
I'd love Will Johnson.
Their pass defense is atrocious, absolutely beat up. I can't even name you a certain a player in their secondary since Jalen Ramsey. Like,
the Jacksonville's just
you got so many holes. You have to take best player available. And again, wide receiver 100%. Here is not going to help you.
No, you just got a great wide receiver in Robinson. Now you need to
Brian Thomas.
Yep.
Yeah,
Brian Thomas was incredible this year. Arguably, he was right. I think he nipped at Malik Neighbors' heels, especially towards the end of the season. I agree with you. You don't go receiver here. I think you definitely go Will from Michigan. Yeah. The kid's incredible. He's got great ball instincts, and like you said, that secondary is a bunch of Walmart bag boys right now. We don't know who they are, so they need to retool that defense. Their defense was atrocious last year, but
and again,
it's Jacksonville.
I could see Mason Graham here, but I'm just saying I think it's going to be best defensive player available, and I do think that Will Johnson is he's a starting corner in the NFL. Number 6, Las Vegas. Here, look, I don't think it's real hard. Brock Bowers was your only weapon, arguably Jacoby Myers. I understand the quarterback situation, but with Ward and Sanders here already gone, there's that gap of talent, and I can't imagine you reach for that, especially when you have picks later on. I eventually, when we start doing mock drafts with trades, I could see this being one of the teams that trades back. But again, right now, this makes sense for me without trades. Teratoa McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona, big body wide receiver. Again, guys, I think Aiden O'Connell is serviceable. I'm not saying he's a great quarterback by any means, but I think he's serviceable for the next season, especially if you get him a weapon.
He's not the guy. I mean, you got to think he's already got Brock Bowers. Jacoby Myers is decent. No, I'm not saying he's a receiver 1, but he's decent. He's got serviceable skills. Now, I heard the Oregon kid, the receiver out of Oregon, had a great Senior Bowl. He had a great Senior Bowl. Yeah. That's an option that you have. I mean, the kid, get some weapons. You might have to sacrifice next season, maybe just barely make the wild card or just barely miss the playoff. And then go get your quarterback, man. Go get, Quinn Ewers or Drew Avedalo or however you say his name. The Raiders right now are in a better spot because of their new management. I think Tom Brady's doing a really good job with them. I could also see them possibly bolstering the offensive line. That's just my take on that, because at this point in time, not many of them are going to be off the board. You're still going to have your Will Andersons, the Alabama guard, those big cats that people are talking about. You got the Oregon guy who, he had a medial Senior Bowl, but he's still that guy. He's still good. I probably would take Will over him.
Oh yeah,
but,
yeah.
It's
Josh Cornerly Jr. I got him going to Green Bay in the 20s. So I mean, he's still a first round, but
I like that.
There's a couple other tackles that I think I like a lot better. But yeah, you have to give Las Vegas has to get another weapon. I understand the quarterback situation, but there's serviceable quarterbacks still being able to draft it. The value just doesn't match here. Number 7, the New York Jets. Here, if it falls the way I'm going, Will Campbell is the best player on the board. Whether it's Aaron Rodgers or you guys, sign somebody, trade for somebody, maybe go get it. I don't know. Whatever you guys want to do with your quarterback situation, no matter who it is, you guys got to start protecting it. Last year they took with the 11th pick, I think it was Fashanu. I think he's been okay in his rookie year, but you're going to have to, bolster up that offensive line for sure. Like I said, Rodgers, no Rodgers, you got to protect your quarterback. So, like I said, if it falls the way I'm going, Will Campbell could be gone before this, but the way it's going for me, he's the best player available. Same situation here.
Now, what if in a world, and this is just a crazy, this is let's call this a draft conspiracy theory. What if Sanders drops low enough to go to the Raiders?
I think it's definitely possible. I also think that the Raiders could move up. But again, like this is done. If everybody stays put, there was no trades, no nothing. Everybody just pick your player. I absolutely see Las Vegas and Cleveland maybe swapping. Now, do I think that Cleveland loses out on the Abdul Carter sweepstakes? So, there's some decisions to be made. I also could see the Giants moving back. If Cleveland takes Abdul Carter, I could see them trading with the Giants. I could see it. Do I see him falling?
It's a small glimmer.
See him falling?
It's a small glimmer.
Because I think the Giants are that desperate. You have to make a move to keep asses in seats at this point. It is what it is.
Right.
For me, then again, the next guy, best player available at this point on my board, Carolina. Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan. I won't get into this guy too much because I could talk for hours. Man is an absolute monster. Big body, high gear, high motor. He reminds me, not necessarily, I don't think he's going to be as animalistic as Jalen Carter, but he reminds me of probably one of the best defensive tackle prospects we've seen since Jalen Carter. Man is just, his numbers are insane. Number 9, New Orleans. Michael Williams, defensive end, Texas A&M. They need help on the edge. Losing Chase Young this year.
Yeah, you got.
New Orleans guys, again, one of those teams, so many holes. But you get Olave back, you get Shaheed back. Hopefully Alvin Kamara is healthy. I understand this is another team that could be looking for a quarterback. Now, they say they're confident in Spencer Rattler. To me, that's blasphemy. But if that's how they want to run their organization, then that's fine. But I do have them bolstering the defense. Like I said, they have so many holes. It's just whoever's top on your board. 10, Chicago. Kelvin Banks Jr., tackle out of Texas. Chicago is going to have to either do the offensive line or the defensive line. I think they are kind of in the sweepstakes of Myles Garrett as well, considering they can pay him a lot more. But does Myles Garrett consider the Bears a contender? And that's the question. He does get a say in where he goes. He has a no trade clause, so it's not like he's going to get stuck somewhere. He wants to play for a contender. But I had Chicago here. I think the first time they taking James Pierce Jr. Yeah, but
Tennessee.
I think now I'm going to go with the Kelvin Bank Jr. I liked what I saw during the Senior Bowl. I think that it would give Chicago and Ben Johnson a little nice little piece to play with. Uh,
I agree. I think they need to go to the line. They got to get
yeah,
Caleb
absolutely.
Williams some
Most
help.
sack quarterback now is it all on the offensive line, not necessarily. Quarterback holds the ball too long, tries to extend plays. Those equal into sacks. But yeah, it doesn't hurt to protect your quarterback just that much more. Speaking of protecting quarterbacks, San Francisco is next on the board at 11. Look, Trent Williams' time is coming, guys. I know he's an all-pro. Respect to the guy, he is an absolute monster. I would never probably stand up to that guy on the street because that's a big boy. But Trent Williams is going to be done soon, and San Francisco has to start looking at that replacement. I think right here it's solid. Josh Simmons, offensive tackle at Ohio State, just a solid pick here. Again, I think this was more of a need than a want. But I think that they got a solid value here at pick 11. Number 12. This is where I start getting a little bit of hate because I try to mix some things around and I like to play with some names. All right. Number 12. I know the popular pick in Dallas is Ashton Jeanty, right? Ashton Jeanty this, Ashton Jeanty that. This is not a Dallas move, guys. This is not a Jerry Jones move. Think about this in this aspect. If CeeDee Lamb goes down, Sunshine, what do they have?
Got Tolbert, but he's a glorified special teams guy. They've got the other cat that I can't name, and he is quite literally a special teams guy. And you got decent tight end help in Dallas, but I would say at receiver, it's CeeDee and nobody else.
We start looking at it, and with Brian Schottenheimer taking over, Dak, as of right now, still being the quarterback, this is now, again, a pass-first offense. Dak likes to pass.
Right.
If all you have is CeeDee is going to have a good season. But what happens if you give Dak another weapon? I think that's what we do here. Dallas takes Luther Burden, wide receiver out of Missouri. Very explosive, very good route runner, deep, can take the top off of defense. I live close to Missouri. I've watched a lot of game tape, watched a lot of Mizzou games. The kid
got to watch him toast my team
kid is electric.
Live.
Kid is
electric.
It was a lot of fun. By all means. And it'd be interesting to see him and Quinyon Mitchell go up against it for the next.
Right. Could you sit and imagine a world where Jerry Jones actually makes a good decision for the Dallas Cowboys? Dallas, instead of winning 6 games, you could win 7.
Well,
think about it.
Let's break down the Ashton Jeanty pick because let's say you pick Ashton Jeanty. Zach Martin is leaving in free agency. So your offensive line takes a big hit. I know he's a veteran, but he's a all-pro veteran. He's top of the food chain.
Yeah, better right. He's one of the better.
Your offensive line at that point is not very good, and you still only have CeeDee Lamb for Dak to work with. Like don't.
What are you going to run behind?
You don't shoot through the moon. Now, again, this is the beauty of the running back depth. You could go and get a Scatabo. You could go and get an Ollie Gordon in the second, third round. That's the beauty of the depth in the running back room this year. But again, like I said, guys, this is a very Dallas pick. I think that they are going to go away from what everybody wants them to do, and that's draft Jeanty. So I had Luther Burden, wide receiver from Missouri again. Number 13, Miami. Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia.
Yep.
Javon Holland.
Big safety.
Absolutely. Javon Holland is going to test free agency this year. Jalen Ramsey prefers a big safety behind him so that way he doesn't have to look over his shoulder twice. I think Malachi Starks is a perfect fit for Miami here. 14, Indianapolis. Again, like I touched on the first mock draft, this really hasn't changed. The last tight end that we saw in Indianapolis that really panned out was Dallas Clark. Anthony Richardson needs another weapon in the middle of the field. I think that you see Anthony Richardson have a better year. I think this is the first tight end off the board. Colston Loveland out of Michigan. A lot of people ask me, why not Tyler Warren? Why not this? Colston Loveland also took snaps out of the slot this year. In my personal opinion, my NFL comparison was Dallas Goedert. Now, why I like this pitch to Indianapolis is because their offensive coordinator, their head coach is Shane Steichen. Shane Steichen is used to Dallas Goedert type players, and I think can make the most out of Colston Loveland. 15, Atlanta. Jalon Walker. I hope I'm saying that first name. I'm probably not. Walker, edge out of Georgia. Again, Atlanta is one of those teams that got so many holes. Phoenix is starting now, and the need of a pass rush is a top priority. Matthew Judon is either old or he's leaving. He's tested free agency. It's just so many holes. But their offense isn't bad if Phoenix can figure it out. Bijan, Mooney, Drake. Pitts is probably going to leave, but
I agree.
I think that defense is definitely a focus here. 16, Arizona. One of those guys we talked about tonight, Shamar Stewart, edge for Texas A&M. For me, again, Arizona's offense is decent. They got their first round pick last year, Marvin Harrison Jr. I think the D line definitely needs help, and I can't even name you anybody off of Arizona's defensive line, to be honest with you.
I couldn't either. I know their linebackers are decent, but their defensive line.
Xavier Collins, and they still got Budda Baker back there. I don't know if he's a free agent or not. I don't think he is.
Well, he was supposed to be traded, but he signed a contract extension.
Oh, okay.
So he'll be there for 5. I think it's a 5-year. It's a multi-year deal.
Gotcha. I remember us being in that sweepstakes, the Budda Baker sweepstakes.
I do remember that I remember, that's why I knew I followed it so closely. I knew we were in those sweeps. I mean, I'm happy with how it turned out.
Oh, I'd rather have CJ than Budda. 17, Cincinnati, Tyler Booker, guard out of Alabama. This guy, if I remember right, didn't allow a sack all season. Over 400 snaps. Played for a mobile quarterback in Jalen Milroe, so he can move around the pocket well. Cincinnati's spent their first round pick last year, did well with, I forget his first name, but the last name Mims, left tackle. He had to play.
He had to
play a little bit this year due to injury, but they got to fill that left guard spot. And I think Tyler Booker here fills that void. Now, this pick is going to be interesting. Number 18, Seattle. For me, McDonald. McDonald was the ex-defensive coordinator for Baltimore. Obviously knows and has been used to using a type of player like Kyle Hamilton. I think that we have a player in this draft that is very, very comparable to Kyle Hamilton. Nick Inumo, I can't even say it. Inumanawari? I know.
Oh, damn, he's got one of them. He's got one of them.
He's got one of them names I'm never gonna get right. Safety.
We're just gonna call
he's a safety out of Ole Miss. This guy can play anywhere. Top safety in the box, D line. He's played the D line. He's been the blitzer. Whatever you want to play.
He played D-line.
Yes, he had snaps on the D-line this year as an edge rusher. Dude is an absolute monster.
That's incredible.
He's even played some slot this year. He's the ultimate gadget. And like I said, that's why he reminds me of Kyle Hamilton, minus the D-line, obviously. But he's the Swiss. He's the Swiss Army knife. Put him in the box, safety, slot. he can do a lot of options. And I think the McDonald is used to a player like that, and I can flourish him. Number 19, Tampa. Wide receiver by the name of Matthew Golden out of Texas. Chris Godwin possibly leaving, having the bad injury last year. Mike Evans is 32. I think that wide receiver here is probably a top priority. Golden, he had some injury concerns, but finished with some solid stats. Had a great bowl, the final bowl game that they played in. I think it was the semifinals. But yeah, I have Tampa Bay taking wide receiver at 19.
I don't hate it because I agree. I think that Godwin's gone. You know, that injury, obviously he's not going to be the same. Mike Evans's clock is ticking. It's any year now that we're waiting on that announcement. Could be this year, could be next year. I don't hate that at all. I like that pick. Tampa's not really hurting anywhere else. In all honesty, maybe you could arguably say maybe the secondary, but the secondary was beat up. We didn't get to see a lot of their starters towards the end in that wild card game. And the kid in Texas did get to play in a playoff game. They made it all the way to the semifinals.
Number 20, Denver. And again, this is best player available at this point. I don't like Denver's running back room. I think this is the first running back taken off the board. Denver take Ashton Genty out of Boise State.
Could you? Bruh, there's not a more perfect landing spot for Ashton Genty than Denver.
God.
That would, I'm not going to lie to you, that would make Denver an immediate competitor in the ACC.
I think you're calling me crazy. I think you put Ashton Genty behind that offensive line and with Bo Nix, I think you're talking division threat for the Chiefs.
I think they could be. They almost beat Kansas City this year with what they had now. If you give them a running attack, bruh, Denver's back.
21, Pittsburgh. Emeka Umbuka, wide receiver for Ohio State. Again, Pittsburgh's been in need of a wide receiver for a while. We'll get a little bit into their quarterback situation later, but it has to be a wide receiver here. The depth is here. You get the talent. just take what you can get and figure out a quarterback situation for next year.
Right.
22, Chargers. Here, I kind of changed up from my first one. I think giving Justin Herbert another weapon would be interesting. I think that you see a second tight end come off the board here in Tyler Warren. I think Tyler Warren in a Charger uniform would be deadly. I think it would definitely.
Yeah, I love Tyler.
Yeah.
The only negative I've seen on Tyler Warren is that sometimes he's not very his hips aren't very fluctuant. It limits his route tree, but he's so dominant as an athlete that his route tree doesn't really need to be all that expansive. Like, look at you know who I'm gonna be honest. You know who I think of when I look at him? Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I think that's Loveland. I think the route ability for Loveland reminds me of Kelce because he takes that choice route and really does whatever he wants. And it's
right.
He's lined up in the slot, and it's crazy. 23, Green Bay. We already talked about the Oregon tackle, Josh Connerly Jr. I think they have one tackle that was on last season testing free agency, so just could be a need for them. 24, Minnesota. Your boy that you were talking about, Walter Nolan, defensive tackle from Ole Miss. Minnesota, that's what they need. They need an interior pass rush. They lost.
Yeah, because they're getting it from Gennard and Hunter. They just need it from somebody.
Well, inside. Didn't Hunter leave? Hunter's on the Texans.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. No,
No,
you're good. Van Kinkel and I can't remember the other guy's name, but Van Kinkel was huge this year. Had a great year, but I think that interior pass rush is needed, and Walter Nolan has flown up draft boards following the Senior Bowl. 25, Houston, Armand Membu, and I am saying that right because it's from Missouri.
You said it better than I would.
He's from Missouri. I've seen these games. At least unless the commentators are leading me wrong. But he's an offensive tackle from Missouri. Houston has got to build this offensive line. Stroud was under a lot of pressure this year. Anywhere else, you still have Nico, you have Diggs. I think John Mechie could deserve a chance at wide receiver 3 with Tank Dell out. Joe Mixon, you still have there. The offense is intact. The defense is phenomenal.
They're an offensive line away from beating Kansas City.
I'm telling you, I think Stroud has a better year with a better O-line. 100%.
I completely agree. I don't think there's anywhere else for them to go in this draft but O-line. If they go anywhere other than O-line, it would be because there's no O-lineman available that they feel comfortable in. But I completely agree. I think that Houston 100% goes O-line in this
26, draft. LA. The LA Rams are going to take, here's another name I'm going to butcher, Jonah Savanane. Yeah, that. Offensive tackle from Arizona. My bad, brother. You're gonna have to spell it out for me or something. Offensive tackle from Arizona. He also played the guard position in this season and in his career. I think LA, again, defense is young, defense is solid. Matthew Stafford, obviously you trade Cup. Wide receiver here could be something. I just don't know what if they're going to trust DeMarcus Robinson. Atwell, I don't know what they're going to do. But I do think the offensive line is something to look into. Nelson on TikTok said, "What's up, bro? Can't wait for this Super Bowl. It's going to be crazy." Us too, man. Us too.
Nelson, what's up, brother? Appreciate you support, man.
Baltimore at 27. Here I do see you were talking about the Oregon wide receiver. I think he's again, you said that Ashton Genty fits ultimately in Denver. I think this is another pick for Baltimore that he just ultimately fits in. He reminds me a lot of Zay Flowers. Same build, same quickness, essentially the same player. You put two of them on the same field, Lamar's going to have a better day. I do have them taking Tej Johnson out of Oregon. Again, great Senior Bowl. I think he's going to even have a better combine. I think you're going to start seeing him fly up some boards here. 28, Detroit. This pick just makes the most sense to me. Aiden Hutchinson, when they lost him last year, they were missing a big piece. I think that's what ultimately derailed the train from them succeeding into the ultimate goal this year.
That's when the wheels started falling off, right? When Aiden went down, it was like a domino. And all
this player, going down. My comparison would, believe it or not, be Aiden Hutchinson. Very much drive.
Oh, I know.
Very much drive.
I know.
Very, very high motor. Loves the game. Loves to be in there. And again, with him and Aiden Hutchinson and him learning from Hutch, I think would only take his talents to the next level. I think that Detroit would be silly to pass on Jack Sawyer here from Ohio State.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say Jack Sawyer. Yep. Jack Sawyer is, I agree. Yes. They're the same guy. They're both got that dog in them. I think Jack Sawyer is a very physical guy at the point of attack, and it would only make, you have the guy with the
Zadarius Smith.
I can't say that. Yeah. Thank you. You got Zadarius Smith.
I don't know if he was a one-year rental or not, though.
I think he comes back. He did really well in Detroit. I thought he played very, very well. I think he comes back. You add Jack Sawyer. You have arguably one of the most dominant defensive fronts in football, Ben.
All right. Number 29, Washington. Little brother.
Little brother.
What was one thing, in your opinion, that Washington failed to have this year?
Defense.
What part of the defense?
Of any kind? So the whole defense, but specifically, I would probably say they need DL help or secondary help. If I had to point to a first issue,
I do have Washington sniping us here, brother. I do. I think they're going to get one on us. I do. I have them taking James Pierce Jr. Edge out of Tennessee.
Yeah, an edge.
He makes the most sense here. For me,
they need They need somebody that can consistently rush the passer, because if they have, I mean, Washington is two key players away from being a Super Bowl team. People don't realize that, and that's coming from Eagles fans. We hate them,
absolutely,
but they are going to be an immediate competitor, and not only in the NFC East, but the NFC as a whole. They're 2 players away, man. And James Pierce could really bring that, threat of pass rush to their defensive line that struggled to have it at all.
Number 30, Buffalo. Another snipe, brother. Another snipe. I think we're just, I'd rather win the bowl, obviously, but we're just at a point to where I think the best player is going to take. And I do have Buffalo. They need some interior D linemen. And I think there's no better name here than Kenneth Grant from Michigan.
Yeah, that's if I was them,
now,
that's what I would do.
With the way that it plays out here, I will say, though, the loser of this Super Bowl will get Mike Green.
You think so?
He's here.
You think they would go? That Kansas City would go?
I had them going D-line. I had them actually. But I think Buffalo sniped them more than they did us, because they're going to have to replace Chris Jones here pretty soon. I think Grant would be the ideal pick for them, but I think Buffalo kind of is like, hey, here's payback for the Worthy Coleman trade that we effed ourselves in last year. And I think they take Kenneth Grant. But again, this is just all hypothetical. I could be wrong, but I do think, that if it makes sense. I mean, besides Karlaftis, they don't have another edge. So Mike Green,
Karlaftis. Once Chris Jones is gone, I mean, that you lose a dominant interior defense.
No, and I could see them going like a corner, maybe, or something on the other something in the secondary, and let us take Mike Green.
Well,
but I ain't gonna bait on that.
They'll have to go corner. They're probably going to have to go corner after they watch what happens to Trick McDuffie against A.J. Brown. They're going to move on from him pretty quick.
I'm saying it. All right, a couple more points, and then we'll call it for the night here. These are some quick hits. Again, stuff over 2 weeks that since the last time that we really got on. T. Higgins, top target in free agency, right?
He is a sweet
the over under is $30 million. The lowest offer that I've seen is even remotely logical is 3 years, 75. The rest of the teams see him over 30 million. Do you have an over and under on 30 million for T? Now have you?
I would go.
Justin Jefferson is at 34 a year.
Right. I don't. T. Higgins is a receiver 1. I don't think he's Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. Those guys are solidified all-pro dudes. I would probably go under for T. And that's not disrespectful, because I think T is a receiver 1. I think he's going to come back to Cincinnati and be a receiver 2. I think they're going to figure out a way to get together.
Sam Darnold, no decision left on the future. In my opinion.
You know how I feel about this son of a bitch.
In my opinion, look, the guy should not take less than 4 years, $160 million. Yeah,
Sam Darnold. Yeah, I mean he played well enough.
Well, I mean that's what Daniel Jones got a couple years ago, and he definitely played better than Daniel Jones.
Right.
From teams, from executives, they're more around thinking 3 years, $100 million, which is what Mayfield got last season. Which is okay, but again, I'd be going in there. Look, bro, Daniel Jones got this. Why can't I?
Well, Mayfield won a playoff game too after he did this. So you know what I mean. He beat Philadelphia Eagles. Right. So at the end of the day, he got that playoff win. Sam Darnold. It scares me to pay him that much money. Obviously, he had an incredible regular season, but those last 2 games really showed us who Sam Darnold is. Who he is in the clutch. Now I wouldn't pay him that much. Will he
tag? If they tagged him, it would be $35.3 million. So it's almost as if the tag would be worth it. Because
right at this point, because then if you tag him, there's the chance that McCarthy beats him out in training camp, and then you're not having to pay him a crazy contract. He's just tagged, and you can go with McCarthy. Because let's be honest, McCarthy was going to get.
They
that
drafted him
starting
2
job
starters.
anyway.
If McCarthy doesn't go down, Sam Darnold doesn't start.
I agree, and I think that eventually we'll get to see Sam Darnold's last stop in the NFL will probably be.
News in the Eagle country: Kellen Moore is now the favorite for the New Orleans head coaching job. Philadelphia is kind of bracing for impact here. Now I have read that Kellen Moore has already began putting staff together. But when he was asked, he said that he's getting through Super Bowl game planning before making any choices or talking any decisions. That makes me feel good.
It makes sense.
Makes me feel good.
I think he's the last true remaining option. But if you want my honest opinion, fantasy, I don't think he should take the New Orleans job. I know he's
quarterback situation. I think that is atrocious. You're screwing yourself, and then what? You're going to go back and you're going to be another coordinator in 4 years, if not sooner.
And I hate that for Kellen because I want Kellen to succeed. I want him to take that next step. Yes. Eagles fans don't. This isn't me saying, "Well, I just want a coordinator here, so my quarterback." Forget all that noise. Jalen's done it with 10 different coordinators. I'm not worried about that. Would I like to see him get it? Right. Would I like to see him get a consistent coordinator? Sure. But at the end of the day, what does Kellen have to work with in New Orleans that attracts him to that job? Aside from him just being like, I want my chance. Yeah, money and I want my chance. I hate this move for him. It's probably I'm at 98% that it's going to happen. The Eagles have already released statements saying that the passing game coordinator is going to assume Kellen Moore's role as the offensive coordinator. I've seen some. I have to look up his name. I seen it today. It's saying they're saying he's being prepped. It's not black and white or final, but the passing game coordinator is being prepped to take his responsibilities going into the next season. And I would like to see Kellen stay in Philly one more year, get it going, and what opportunities you have. I mean, next season the Giants' job could open. I'm gonna be honest with you. That Giants' job would be sweet because you're only missing really like a quarterback, and then Kellen can refix everything the way he wants it. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I can agree with you. I agree with you. Justin Fields, according to Pittsburgh executives, they are comfortable with Fields as the starting quarterback. They have not made a solidified decision on either Russell Wilson or Fields, but obviously Fields is a lot younger. I would probably get him at a lot cheaper option for a multi-year deal.
Yeah.
Now, I think what could play a part is we obviously did not see the Fields and the Pickens, George Pickens connection really come into chemistry. I thought that Pickens and Russell Wilson did great together, but Justin Fields and George Pickens did not seem on the same page. If you get Justin Fields another weapon and Mbuka, like I talked about, maybe. But would you rather have an aging Russell Wilson or trust Justin Fields?
I'm going to be honest with you. I thought Russell did a significantly better job than Justin did in a specific stretch, that like week 7 to 8 stretch. I thought that Russell was incredible. And then the offense just dropped like back to like it was in week 1 through 4, where they were winning games with only field goals. And at first, I got kind of hoodwinked because I was like, hey man, Russell's got this thing moving. And then we kind of seen what the Pittsburgh Steelers really were. And that was a defensive juggernaut that had no kind of consistent offense. And I like Justin Fields. I think you're right when you say he's younger. You can pay him a little less. But I don't think Justin Fields is the answer in Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh should probably go with Justin, pay him less money, and then bide their time for another quarterback. I don't think we're ever going to see the Steelers competing for an AFC championship with Justin Fields. And that's not a knock. I think he's great. I just don't love him as a passer.
I can agree. And last topic for the night. Look, Myles Garrett, obviously yesterday dropped the big bomb, the big F bomb. He said, "Get me the out of here."
Did he say that?
I'm pretty sure he said, "Get me the out of here." For you, obviously, us as Eagle fans, look, we're not gonna beat around the bush here. It is a very high possibility. Yeah, and we have to move some things around. I think if we get him before free agency, after the draft, it could be whatever the move is. Um, but in my personal opinion, if you're going to go after him, we have to let Josh Sweat go.
Yeah, 100%.
Possibly Milton Williams even.
I hate the idea of that.
I do too. But listen, I like the defensive tackle depth that we have. We could even draft one this year.
Who's the kid's name? The Ojaro kid?
Yeah, Ojamo from Texas that we drafted a couple years ago. He's solid.
I've been very impressed with him, and this is the question I pose to you because we're Eagles fans, so we can kind of break down this on a molecular level of Vic's defense. If we get rid of Milton Williams, it would be a loss. Milton Williams has one of the highest pass rush win rates amongst interior defensive line. Why is that, Eagles fans?
You know what it reminds me of? When we lost Javon Hargrave.
Yeah, and that's a very good comparison, but why does he have that pass rush win rate? Because he's playing next to
Carter.
He's playing next to the monster under your bed, and Jalen Carter. If we have Jalen Carter playing in that interior, and we have Myles Garrett playing the edge, which one do you double team? Because you got to double team one of them. You can't do both. You don't have enough people.
That's what I'm getting at. Like your running back's not going to stop either of them with a chop block either.
And God forbid Bryce Huff actually goes to practice this year and lives out what we thought he was.
That's Nolan Smith's job.
Oh, what am I talking about?
Nolan Smith has earned that shit. He's played his heart out this year.
And so you have Nolan Smith, who is now a producing edge. I mean, you have Bryce Huff, who's a great rotational guy.
Yep.
You have
Brandon Graham, maybe back another year, maybe, depending on contract.
You have Myles Garrett, who is you're not one-on-oneing Myles Garrett, and very, very often there are 3 tackles that I can think of, and one of them plays for our team. So actually 2 of them plays for our team. So Penei Sewell could maybe be one-on-one Myles Garrett, but outside,
I think Joe Alt could hold his own.
That you have to double.
Yeah,
doing it the whole game.
I agree.
The football gods better not let Myles Garrett land in Philadelphia.
Bro, I'm going to tell you now. If we fuck around, excuse my language, I'm just going to say it, fuck around and get Myles Garrett, y'all are going to have to hold me back from some serious talk. Because it would be almost unfair to the rest of the league.
No, that's just the right word to use. It would be unfair.
It would be unfair.
People thought
Kansas City
had a super team. No.
I shared it on my on the Facebook page, the Fantasy Blitz Facebook page, and I'm like, destinations, and everybody's like Chargers and Baltimore and Chicago, and I'm like, that's all fine and dandy. I was like, but I think you guys are missing the obvious stone here. And everybody's like, of course, it's Philly. And I'm like, no, y'all say that because y'all realize
you don't want him.
You don't want that to happen. You will pay that man to stop him from getting to Philadelphia.
When I tell you that's the last stone going in the gauntlet.
I promise you, it's over with.
Everyone's like, oh, yeah, of course. I could also see him ending up in Washington because Washington can pay him.
Absolutely. I think Detroit is a solid destination. If they don't, I think that takes obviously like a Jack Sawyer out of the situation. But, him and Hutchinson, oh, my Lord Jesus.
Yeah, that would be a scary team too. I think it's going to come down to what are the Browns asking for and where does Myles Garrett want to go? Because
I seen a trade proposal from it was obviously a hypothetical trade proposal, but it was from the Eagles that it would be Bryce Huff, our first round pick this year, our first round pick next year, and a third. But I'm gonna tell you right now, usually I'm the guy that's like, no, fuck that, don't sell the future, do that. Bro, we're talking about if we fuck around and win this bowl and then get Myles Garrett, we're talking about fucking 3P, bro. I'm talking about a quad. That's unfair, bro. It just is. It's the facts. I don't understand what offensive line is going to look up and not be trembling.
Yeah, I mean, you have Jalen Carter, you have Myles Garrett, you have Nolan Smith, and then you'd have the O'Maro dude because we'd probably trade out Milton Williams.
But again, we would probably draft another body, another young body that's learning from Garrett, Jalen Carter. I
could see Myles Garrett being a world destroyer in Vic Fangio's defense. And we all know there'll be a drop off next year because people will have film and we'll be able to kind of there'll be a drop off. We're not ignorant to sit here and think we're going to be
I would be and this is the last thing I'll say before we hop off. I would be as bold to say Myles Garrett to the Eagles would have the same effect on the defensive side that Saquon to the Eagles had on the offensive side of the ball.
That's solid.
I think it was already a great group, and then we added in that just
a killer. You would add in You would add in the defense would. I don't know who could run their offense like normal against that defensive front is my question.
Nobody,
man. That would be.
I don't give a shit if your name's Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar. I don't give a shit.
Or Tom Brady. Tom Brady could come suit that joint back up. I don't think that would be truly unfair. Like
it would. It really, and that's my definition of it. And several people have asked me, "What do you think?" And I'm like, it's unfair. I think it should be vetoed.
Don't get me wrong.
The whole Kobe. Remember the whole Kobe and what was that? He was getting they were getting Chris Paul.
Yeah.
And they vetoed that shit because they're like, nah, that's unfair. No, that shit should be vetoed. Myles Garrett to the Eagles is unfair.
If they don't veto it and Howie becomes already more of a GOAT than he is, I'm going to go buy a Myles Garrett jersey because he's going to win championships. In Philly. Not a championship.
That is not a Rams. Somebody described this to me today. It was like, oh well, unless you guys are going to pull a Rams move and just bet it all on 1 year. No, fuck that. That's not a 1 year move, bro. That's a dynasty move.
He's 27.
That's what that is.
He's 27. Brandon Graham 35. 27.
If there is one man on this planet that I would trust my financials with, it is Howie fucking Roseman.
100%.
Howie Gerald Roseman.
Dude, guys, you thought this season I was obnoxious because I was like, well, we have the team to do it. This is the year. This is the most open it's ever been for us. If we retain all of the players on our offense, and we get Myles Garrett, boy, it's over for y'all. Y'all minus 190.
So this real quick. This is my free agency pitcher right now. Get Myles Garrett. This is my ideal situation. Sign Zach Bond.
Right.
Who hopefully takes 10 to 12 mil a year. I think you sign Becton.
I agree.
I don't think Becton will be that expensive because of past issues. He's had one good season. You know what I mean? I don't think he's going to be out of this mountaintop expensive. Let Josh Sweat go. If we have to let Milton go, let him go. Let Maddox go. Maddox has got to get the fuck out of here.
Who?
Maddox? Yeah,
Who?
Exactly. You don't know that name. And then I think, again, compared to the draft, if it takes that much draft capital, fuck it. Do it. Because, again, that's a dynasty move, bro. Let Josh Sweat walk. Let Milton walk.
That changes the trajectory of your defense for at least 4 years.
Absolutely. And then again, I trust Howie with my life and my financials to say, hey, we're gonna move some cap around, push all this backwards, and get you here now. Done.
It would be the greatest time in Philadelphia Eagles history.
It's over for the rest of the league.
For many years. Y'all thought y'all hated Philly this year? Boy.
We're the new Chiefs, and I'm ready for that.
Oh, I'll be obnoxious. I'll be obnoxious.
I'll be litty, boy. But no, brother, I appreciate you stopping by. That was a fun. It was a little bit lengthy, but it was
Yeah,
a
of course.
fun ass episode. So I appreciate you, brother, and I'll be getting with you this week. I'm sure our schedules are going to be pretty busy.
Yeah.
Super Bowl Sunday, so um, if you need anything from me, brother, just let me know.
Yeah, I got you. I'm going to reach out, guys. We'll be going live tomorrow as well as Friday evening. We're going to get some people on. I know Thursday, everybody in the Sports Lounge media will be going live on the Sports Lounge instead of Wednesday. It's gonna be fun, guys. The Super Bowl's coming up. We're a few days away from not only getting to watch the Eagles stop a three-peat, but bring the championship back home to Philly, hopefully. And
Right.
after that, then it gets fun. We get to talk about the offseason acquisitions, the draft, anything, from the front office all the way down to the players. We will make sure you guys are covered. I can't wait. I can't wait for
Absolutely.
next season, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're really excited for the direction that the Sports Lounge media is headed in. Fantasy Blitz, obviously one of the integral shows. Thank you guys. The viewers, it's up to you guys whether this sinks or swims, and you guys have made it speedboat. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you. Fantasy, it's always a pleasure, man. Anytime you need me on, I'm always down to come and talk some ball.
Absolutely, brother. I appreciate it. And like I said, he hit it on the nose. We appreciate everybody. Both platforms here you can find on TikTok and YouTube. We do have another page called the Eagles Nest that we both participate in. That's Sunshine's official page. Go ahead and give him a follow and a subscribes over there. And hey, come get some of the best Eagles content that you guys can get. That's our goal here. So again, appreciate everybody stopping around, and let's have fun this week.
Yes, sir. Prepped for the bowl. Let's get it.
Yes, sir.